The Hogsty is brought to you by TicketClub.com, your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. Whether you're looking for game, theater, or live performance tickets, don't sweat it. TicketClub.com has you covered. So make sure you're going there for all your live entertainment needs, and make sure you're clicking over to them from the banner at the top of thehogsty.com.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. My name's Sean Conti. This is the Hogsty. I've got the usual suspects here with me today. That's Alex Cease and Steve Thomas. Today our guest is a legendary Redskin, a Super Bowl winner. You can catch him on Team 980 inside the locker room, and he's back with us for a third time. We could not be more happy to have him. His name is Rick Doc Walker. So, Rick, we got to ask you right up front, how do you think that the thing went for the team in general? Maybe give us a letter grade, A to F if you can, just a big headline.
Well, drafts are strange. I think that I admire the people that rate them because they have no idea. But you have to fill space.
Right.
I just stopped kidding myself years ago. All of them were C's to me until the players prove they can play. But I'm excited about the prospects. Hell, I'm human. And we went big. We went with a guy that has proven that he can play.
Right.
And against the run. It doesn't mean that, they have Alabama's had us. I just don't believe that this guy will be one. I really don't. I think that this guy, Payne, because he's fundamentally sound. He's not tricking anybody. He's just solid. I mean, we need to be solid. We need to be fundamentally sound. And I trust him. I really like the fact that we have a guy like John Allen. It's almost like special ops. If you get a guy on your team, he's a SEAL. You know how he's been trained. You know he's done more than most. Doesn't mean he's going to win them all, but you bet on him. And that's the comfort of an Alabama defensive player, in my opinion.
Doc, it seems to me the question with Payne, at least in the eyes of the fans, isn't whether he can stop the run. It's what kind of pass rush he can bring in the interior. For me, if you watch the Alabama film, I saw him bring plenty of pass rush, but I know that's an open question. So what do you think about his ability to bring pass rush on passing downs?
Well, I think what we have to understand is that you get a collegiate, he comes to a pro, means you're getting pro coaching. So it's no different than a student that graduates and then goes to get his master's. Why do we think it can't be done? If it can be done, I like Jim Tomsula and the way he teaches to make it happen. And he's also not alone. They've got character. They got guys that can do it. He's with pros. Nobody going to be trying to double team him to start just staying off his movement.
Hey, going to the other SEC guy we got in the second round, how do you think Geis is going to fit into Jay's system?
I mean, I have no idea because LSU's commitment to the run is different than ours. And it's college versus pros. He's shown that he's a capable running back. He breaks tackles. He's elusive. He's got all that. But we see these guys come out every year. Why do we think that everybody's going to work? And every year, only half of them work. So why would this year be any different? I mean, I think it'll work. I'm hoping it'll work, but there's no guarantee. I'm more excited about the guys that I got to see last year and them being sophomores or juniors. If I get a freshman that comes in and steals it, like Zeke, hey, man, it's icing on the cake.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's no doubt that guys like Jonathan Allen will be better. He should be better, as a second-year pro. I think you're right in saying certainly that we have no idea about the rookies. The big question about guys, of course, obviously were these character issues. I think Doug Williams addressed it very well in his post-draft conference presser. What's your take on the guy's character issues and the idea that he was bad in interviews and there may have been some sort of altercation in Philadelphia?
I could care less about it. I don't get hung up on that. Dan Marino had character issues. He worked out okay. Guys have issues. But if they evaluated him, they had interviews with him. It's not like he was behind a closed door and they didn't get to talk to him. They met him. They talked to him. They talked to his coaches. Would I take an interview with a stranger over 3 years of coaching, 3 years of him having classes and teachers and strength coaches? And no, why would I do that? Only an idiot would do that to me. And what difference does that make? If he fails me and I'm paying him, that's all I'd worry about. Even if he came in like a choir boy, once they pay him and he's in a big city, he could become a nut. So anything is possible. Why do people keep asking for this stuff to be? There's no guarantees. We get so stupid during this time of the year. What do you think? I don't. What do you expect? I don't. They'll show me in Richmond. I have a wife. I don't hang around worrying about every item of everything with these people when track record shows me I'm just wasting my time. All the blogs, the draft experts, it's just fun if you like fantasy. I don't. I don't deal with that. I go to Richmond,
well, that's probably the right attitude to have.
No. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm abnormal. I don't expect people to agree with me. I don't give a damn. I'm not trying to win people. I'm not running for office. You know, You have me on because you want my opinion.
Right.
I'm giving you my opinion. I'm not trying to fill time. I'm not trying to do any of that crap. I don't need anything to talk about. I can deal with what we have. Athletic. The guy is fun-loving. He's made some mistakes, which have to be corrected. If they were mistakes, maybe he was just perceived a certain way because he's abnormal. Maybe he's abnormal. I love abnormal people. I think we need more of them on this football team, and maybe they break the 8-8 barrier.
I mean, you played with some characters in your day.
Damn right.
I mean,
on every level of my life.
Yeah.
That's why I love them. I love them. I want misunderstood people. I don't want cookie cutters. I'm looking for people with edge.
Quite frankly, I think the Redskins could use some players with attitude more than anything else.
We need edge. But it's got to be controllable. You got to know who's in charge. They're not in charge. Jay's in charge. The coaches, staff, management. And once you get through that, then we'll find out if they want to be pros or not. If not, they'll go by the wayside.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about another one of these draft choices I think is intriguing. Is a guy named Tim Settle out of Virginia Tech. Obviously, he had a bunch of problems at the combine, and I don't know how much stock you put into things like 40 times for nose tackles. But Settle... That doesn't surprise me somehow. To me, it seems like the long-term plan is to have... I don't give a damn about his 40 time. Do you care if a shot putter runs 4.5 or 4.6?
No.
Not at all. Not at all. I know. That's by all the, quote, so-called experts. That's fantasy talk. You know, I need a guy to control a gap, like World Grant did, like Dave Butts did, Perry Brooks. You know, I've seen great defensive linemen. See, you guys maybe you weren't around, you weren't born then, but I've seen.
Oh, I was.
Yeah,
I've seen.
We have one guy
I've seen Charles Mann, Dexter Mann. I've seen people do it. None of this is a mystery to me. I've actually seen it done well. None of this is a mystery to me. As a matter of fact, I'm baffled by why it's so difficult to get it right.
So let me ask you this then, Doc. I mean, what would you kind of, if you were one of those guys who's doing the evaluating, what would you have been looking for? Is it more the interviews that you would think matter, or?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah, because to me, if it's film, doesn't turn me on, why am I there?
Good point.
They act like these people, they have never seen them before. The only reason I need to interview you is if I like your film. If I like your film, then I'll find out if I like you verbally. You know, if I like you emotionally. Then I make my opinion on it. I don't care what you did wherever you were. I make my own evaluation of it. But I'm abnormal. Again, the way I talk to people and test them is different probably than the way they do it.
Sure.
So I would find out. I would know. All I need is a day, couple days, dinner, whatever we do, I'll know. because I know what to ask. And then
Well,
I go
did you like Settle's film?
I love it. I love it. And I love his coach. See, anybody from Bud Foster. See, I like my defensive guys from Virginia Tech, Alabama, Boston College, Clemson. See, I need guys Ohio State because I know the way they've been trained. This is not rocket science. If I get a guy whose trainer, his coach is better than another guy's, his competition, then I equate his competition. Who did you do it against? Well, quite frankly, Alabama, there's only 3 games I even care to look at. They dwarf everybody else. But I'm looking at Georgia. I'm looking at Clemson. I'm looking at Auburn. I know what to look for. They only have 3 or 4 contests a year. The rest of it's the JVs to them. So I don't get hung up on their record. All I care about is equal opportunity competition. And if a guy does well in those games, and I like what I see, coaches, strength coaches, talk to his instructors around campus, all I need to find out is if he's not a jerk. If he's not a jerk, I can work with him. If he's a jerk, I'll let him go to Dallas.
The big question to me with Settle is whether or not he's good enough to be a 2-gap nose tackle, or if he's 1-gap. I know we played a lot more 1-gap, and I think, frankly, it's because we haven't had the personnel to do otherwise. So is this team going to transition, do you think, over to more of a 2-gap system with Settle in there now, or am I just a fantasy of mine?
This is just my feelings. They're not going to do anything different they ever done. They're going to do what they do. And they're going to rotate people, and they're going to play their system based on down and distance. And that's it. And that's all I care about. I don't care what they do. As long as they do something that works.
They need to find something that works.
3-4, 2-3, 5-2. I don't care what they run. But they better run something that's better than what they've been doing, because the results have got to be better. That's on them. I don't coach.
Oh, there's no doubt the results need to be better. It seems to me the one hole that got left out of the draft weekend, out of free agency, et cetera, is left guard. They insinuated that Ty Nsekhe might end up competing for left guard. It seems to me that's the biggest hole in the offensive line, and that's a huge problem. What is the solution in-house with the left guard?
Well, you have the guy who play. And again, what time of the year is it? Right now, they don't look good. By the time they come to camp, they get healthy people. They got more bodies. But the game is not until September. So by September, they should have that thing figured out, whether it's going to be Nsekhe, Quanjo. They've got 3 or 4 guys that will compete. I'm hopeful that one of the guys they sign as an undrafted free agent might be the guy.
Yeah.
It could be any of them. I don't need the number 1 pick to be it. I need somebody that wants to win a job. It's about competition. Somebody ought to go in there and fight for it. I don't need them to. All I need is an opportunity. Now, who wants it? And they've got an excellent coach. Coach them up. Find a guard.
Yeah.
We played last year with stick men. We played with guys that showed up the day of the game and won up in Seattle. It's not that complicated.
No. Hey,
and if not, then they'll have to go do so.
Doc, thinking back to when you got in on your first year in the NFL, can you remember any kind of advice that you were given that you would pass on to these guys, who are these rookies especially?
No, because it's a different era. The more money you guys make, the less they inquire about things, because they basically have made it.
Sure.
You just got to find. That's why it's important to get the right guys. You guys who ask you questions, they're not going to. I don't give any. I'm happy for them. But to me, I'm far more focused on winning. See, some guys just want to be in the league. Then
Right.
you just want to make money. Eventually, it comes to the point where you actually want to win. And that's when I get excited about it, because they got to get more guys that want to win and just don't want to be in the NFL, but they want to win.
So basically, your advice is have that heart. It sounds like that would be your advice.
Well, you want to build a career. My first thing for them is get you 4 years and get vested. You got to be good enough to get 4 years in. You got to get vested.
Right.
This is a brutal league. You could be hurt. You could be out. You could be one and done. So as much as people say it, you got to play like every year's your last. And that's hard to do when you're young and you've got new money. Fred Smoot coined a phrase that I've adopted, and I live by it now. They give these guys money, but they don't give them instructions as to what to do with it and how to live with it. Yeah. Some guys, you're moving away from home for the first time. It's not easy. Just because you're big and strong and physical doesn't mean you're mature.
No.
That's why the organization has equipped itself with people that can actually build bridges with players, build relationships, help kids who are struggling. If you got to draft everybody that's perfect, you'll be around the 8-8 mark forever.
I like the idea that Fred Smoot quoted a phrase that you like, because Fred quoted, Fred's coined a lot of phrases.
No, Fred has coined, but see, when you coin 600 of them a month,
right.
A couple of them are bomb sticks, yeah.
Well, I think that's his philosophy. It's just talk as much
that's my
as
philosophy
possible.
with photography. I take 1,000 pictures. One's going to be good.
Yeah. No, I love Smoot. Because he had terrific passion.
Yeah.
And, and he's talking about things he actually did.
Mm-hmm.
And when a guy his size is that boastful, I know he's got skill. He's like a black belt in karate to me. Anybody his size talk that much trash, he's dangerous.
I like that.
I got one more draft question for you before we move on to other things.
No problem.
Punt returner. We drafted 3 special teams guys this draft: Apke, Stroman, and then the Mr. Irrelevant Quinn. Surely to goodness, one of these guys can actually grab a hold of the long-term punt return duties from Jameson Crowder, who, as much as I like Crowder, he's been largely terrible at it. Can one of these guys do it? Do you have any insight, any thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is that if they don't do it, they're not going to be in the NFL. I mean, I'm so happy that Coach Gruden and his staff and our player personnel people, Doug and Jay and everybody, I'm sure glad that they have now put an emphasis on special teams players.
Yeah.
Joe Gibbs, we had 7 guys on our team that were professional teams players, and they were amongst the best in the league. And I know they say it's a copycat league, but very few seem to copy him. And all he is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And he took that much emphasis on it, but other people don't seem to value it. Well, now it seems like we're valuing it. It's not embarrassing to draft somebody for specific needs on teams. There's a third of the game plan is on teams. So I applaud. I was thrilled that they got people that can take the load off. They got to be better than what we've had, because what we had is not acceptable to win.
Right. We had decent coverage, but that was about it in terms of the team's guys, I felt like.
Yeah, but see, we didn't flip the fields.
No, we didn't.
On one of these years, we had a plus 41.
Mm-hmm.
You got to help your offense. You got to give your offense short fields. I mean, what Kirk Cousins had to deal with last year, it was remarkable. Remarkable.
Yeah.
And so it's so much easier if we could get a return. I mean, you can't always have Mike Nels and Brian Mitchell. Those are two freaks in nature. But we have got to get back. That's what we were accustomed to. Short fields, making our opponent go the long distance, turning the ball over. We just got to get back to what we once were noted for. And I think we're moving. No, I know we're moving in the right direction. I just hope it's fast enough.
Well, yeah, let's hope that one of these guys can actually return a punt. Between Greg Stroman and Trey Quinn, surely one of them can. We'd like to move to the unfortunately slightly more controversial story of the week, and that is this controversy surrounding the Redskins cheerleaders, the allegations in the New York Times of certain improprieties with regard to the cheerleaders down in Costa Rica. Number one, have in your experience with the team and in the building and whatnot, have you ever seen any sort of improprieties go on with the cheerleaders? And number two, what are your thoughts about the allegations?
No, I haven't. All I know is in 2013, they went and did a body paint shoot for the calendar, Well, you're naked for body paint. Anybody who doesn't know that is moronic.
Right.
Okay, so if you're going to do a body paint edition, everybody's naked. So that's not a revelation.
No. I think the bigger story really was about the whole having the cheerleaders go on dates with clients and things.
Right,
if
act as
they did
escorts.
That,
Yeah.
Well, that's prostitution. Yeah, if they did that, that's the thing. Then
Yeah.
where's the supervisor of the girls?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, they have a mother hen with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they always have a supervisor. Then everybody should be talking to supervisor. They weren't there on their own. It was a supervisor, I would assume. I've never been to one. But
Right.
I know business, and businesses that they're not free agents. They're not independent contractors. They work for the team and work for the leader. I think it's Stacy. And I'm not saying she was in charge, and I don't know. I just know how this is done. When I know it was body paint, then I go, oh, well, okay. You show me somebody that's doing a body paint edition in clothing, and I'll show you a liar. Everybody's naked.
Right.
Now, if they had clients at that, then I would think, I'd question the clients. But, I mean, I don't know what they did. If they did it, that's not fair to the young lady unless they signed the consent or knew about it. I have no idea. And to be honest with you, in 2013, and this is 2018, I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Right.
The fact that it took 5 years for anything to come out is a little fishy. That's for sure.
Well,
No,
this isn't the only.
It doesn't mean it shouldn't be discussed.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that. It just would have been nice to hear about it that year if there was a problem.
Well, Doc, there's a lot of stories and rumors and whatnot about a lot of drinking going on and partying, with the senior executives. I mean, is there a culture of that over there that may perpetuate things like this?
Senior executives or clients?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Well,
Executives.
that would be really callous. If adults were doing that. Again, I haven't seen that, I haven't been to any of that. But that would be worth investigating. But again, we're not talking about 18-year-olds.
Right. We're talking about grown-ups.
Talking about adults.
Yeah.
Grown women.
Right.
Yeah, legal. So that's what I'm saying. Let's not act like this was Girl Scouts they took out. These are adults. Now, if they signed up, whoever said that about being at escort, yeah, that does sound fishy. I don't like. If I was a parent of one of my daughters, I wouldn't like that. But I'd like to feed into more of that and hear people that I actually think have credibility.
Sure. I mean, the team did say they're going to look into it. I hope they take it seriously. That's the one concern about anytime someone's like, we're going to do an in-house investigation, I always kind of question, well, how serious is an in-house investigation really going to be? So I hope they take it seriously. And, if there was something wrong, heads should roll,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, 2013, I would say whatever happened, that's the strange part to me. I thought, but I do know this. They do these Cabo shoots, and every team does them.
Right.
All over. I didn't know that clients were. That was new to me. But again, it's not my department.
No. I don't think, Doc, we don't think you were in charge of the cheerleaders.
No. Wouldn't want to do that.
No. Tight ends and cheerleaders have not mixed well for the Redskins.
Speaking of heads rolling, the other
part of the team, though.
It is.
Cheerleaders, like the band. I mean, it's all a part of the organization. It's a part of the game day experience. It's a part of, from a marketing standpoint, I've done 36 events with cheerleaders.
Sure.
So I mean, it's normal. They're really, I think the proper phrase is as ambassadors for the team. A lot of the young ladies that do events don't even cheer, but they're ambassadors, and they have on the outfit. They do the whole thing, but I don't think they're on the game day experience of cheerleaders.
Is there some sort of handler with the cheerleaders who go to these events? Some sort of team representative that manages them?
My point is that they have managers and management, and they have people who are in charge of it. There's no way the cheerleaders get there unsupervised.
Yeah.
But again, I'm talking about the game day experience, which I see. But I don't know about their special events or their. If I cared enough, I would investigate the calendar sheets and what goes on with that.
Right, and it sounds like that's what needs to happen. Is someone needs to do that. And a real like gumshoe reporter, not a couple podcasters, or you're more real because you have a radio show. But somebody with some clout needs to maybe do that investigation.
See, in our world today, man, with Twitter and social media,
sure,
it's hot.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's hot. It has this cycle. It's nothing wrong with investigating. It should be done. Mm-hmm. And they should have answers, and I'm sure they will.
Well, let's move to Bruce Allen here because he's the other news. I mean, there was the rumor that the Raiders were interested in bringing him back, which he denied on NFL radio, I believe. I wonder, especially with this new cheerleader controversy going on, is there any take in the building or thought in the building that he might actually leave anytime soon?
I haven't heard anybody mention that since he made his comment. I said, again, the way I look at things is that you ought to be glad somebody wants somebody that you have. There's value in other people being interested in you. That's the first news. And so with our record and what we've done, then that's good for Bruce. But he came out and was pretty clear in his statement, which time will tell. But I'll tell you one thing, you won't have a problem getting somebody to take his office.
You think so?
No, they've got people there that are capable. And eventually Bruce will do something else because he's been doing things before. He's been with the Raiders before. He's been with Tampa.
That's right.
If that's what he wants to do, why shouldn't he? Based on what they offer him. Mm-hmm. Everybody's a free agent. Everybody is trying to improve their life and their family. He didn't have a lifetime deal with this organization. He should do whatever works for him.
Sure.
Do you think he's a good team president?
But see again, for what he does in his role, which to me is managing them fiscally, he's done a hell of a job. They're fourth and Forbes.
Right.
So, that's his role.
There's value there.
And as a GM, and if you look at the last 3 years and what they've done in terms of putting together front office, I really am excited about what has happened with Doug and with Smitty. They've got some people over there that are very confident in that they're allowed to do their jobs. I think you already see the fruits of their labor.
Right.
That's what I like. I like the fact that Eric Schaefer, Doug Williams, Smith, these guys, and Jay and Bruce, what they put together. Now, I didn't like the fact, and I liked McLuhan. I was a McLuhan guy. But if he had an issue that was impairing his decision, then know that I don't like that. I don't like that. This is pro football. I did that. But then again, I knew what I was getting into. That was the third time. He'd been let go from 2 other places. Hello? That wasn't no miracle surprise.
No.
Why is everybody acting like they were shocked? I thought that was crap. It was
Fair
a
enough.
chance. You were hoping that he could beat his condition and be good because he's brilliant at things, but it didn't work out. So as a result of that, I think we've moved into a healthier situation because you need a lot of eyes and ears. You need so many people. You need a scouting department together. You need 10, 15 guys. This is no one-man operation.
Yeah, and I'm glad when Doug came in, he kind of increased the number because I remember looking around and we had one of the smaller departments before he kind of took charge. So I was glad to see he added a few people.
We have some talented people over there.
Yeah.
That I think now are being allowed to do their job, and it's growing. It's growing because, in my opinion, head coaches probably have the strongest say on everything, and they should. You think enough of me to hire me to be the head coach, I definitely want to have a voice in everything football related. If that was me, and then Bruce has got to make sure, and Eric, that the money's tight. For once, we have cap space. It appears that we're fiscally sound now. We're not raving lunatics throwing money at deadbeats.
Yeah.
So I think from a professional standpoint, I'm far more comfortable with this regime and how they perform fiscally. But everybody gets excited when they just throw out money and all the failures we had. I'm not impressed with that. That's fool's gold. So whether they like Bruce or like Doug and that, I could care less about what fans think about that. look at the numbers and look at the position they're in fiscally. It's a business, and they're running a business that way. And if they won more games, I'd be thoroughly pleased with them. My only issue with them is that you got to win more games. However that is, you got to win more games. And so I believe they're moving in the process. They're younger, they're bigger, stronger, faster. Everything is moving. It takes time, man, to redo their strength and conditioning program. You got to do a lot to win. We had Dan Riley, the best in the business, Bubba Tyer, Kyoki Kamau. Our people were elite across the board. It didn't happen overnight. But what Joe Gibbs was able to build, we went from 0-5 to a stretch of, I think, 34-4, 34, whatever it is. Only the Patriots have matched that. So let's not kid ourselves. That was Bobby Beathard involved, Charlie Casserly. I mean, look at the people. It was talented people in every department. Well, they got to build up to that. That doesn't just happen automatically.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That might be the perfect note to end on there. It's all about results. It's all about the people you got. Hopefully, you're taking some steps in the right direction. I think we've had a pretty good offseason so far, and I hope you'd agree. He's Rick Doc Walker, at Rick Doc Walker on Twitter. Thank you so much for being with us again,
guys,
Rick. It's a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Hate to be a killjoy, but you asked me to come on. I've just got to do it the way I do it.
No, it's fine.
Oh, hey, we love
wouldn't
it.
have it another way.
Yeah. No,
I'm just not. This is the way it is. See, a lot of people are. They're wondering. I have lived it. I was there. I saw it.
That's why we don't question you.
This ain't no fantasy to me. This is basic, and it's not always glitzy. I know people don't necessarily like dealing with all the bigs and the linemen and the run game. I know it's not. It's flashy. It's your spreads and your all that crap. But if you want to win, you have got to be able to run on the edge. And we were horrible at running on the edge. So you got to fix that.
Yeah.
And I think they're going about it, and they realize it. And so, everything's predicated on health and attitude. If we stay healthy and have the right attitude, I'm comfortable with the people now that are building the plan and that operate the plan. And so I've seen improvements on nutrition. I've seen the improvement now on the healing part. They're investing a hell of a lot of money now in recovery.
That's what they've been needing to do so badly.
Well, but, look at the Ravens. They have a world-class facility. We were behind the curve. So now we got to catch up. And I think they're making the efforts and spending the money to do that. And so don't expect it to be overnight because not hocus pocus, but we just got a bubble. Tell everybody else had a bubble. I mean, some people have two. So that's what I'm saying. We're getting up there. We're moving on up. And if they keep the people in place, you got to have your people in place for 5 years. So everybody's not to open up a new playbook every stinking time you look around. You got a new coordinator, do this, do that. No, you got to have consistency and the right people in order to win. And I think we're closing the cushion.
Oh, that's great to hear. It seems like consistency and commitment to players has not been our strong suit in recent history, at least actually in long-term history too.
Well, the numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie.
No, they don't.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can have you back once we get underway with the season or something.
Now you're bringing me down, Doc.
No, 2-1. I'm hopeful.
All right.
I need to score. We need to tie this thing up. All right, guys. Thank you.
All right, Doc. Take care. You have a great night.
Okay. So there he goes, Rick Doc Walker. I guess his attitude really is it's all about results. Can't say too much about anything because it's all about results at the end of the day. Is that a fair enough summation?
He's got such a wonderful I don't care attitude. I love Doc.
Right.
I think he may be my favorite guest we've ever.
He's a no BS guy.
Is Doc because he really is.
I'm going to say we say that after every great guest. So let's say it's Doc right now. He's our favorite guest of all time.
Fair enough. I mean, someday if we get Joe Gibbs on, Joe Gibbs will be my new favorite guest.
Right.
No, but he was less interested in the X's and O's of what does Darius Geist do, and he was more interested in what I thought was more interesting was what is the team building as an organization.
Yeah.
He really touched. That was very interesting. He touched on that a lot, and I think that's something that fans don't really think about because there's such a vitriol for Bruce Allen about anything that even remotely touches Bruce Allen. What Doc said about how Bruce has built a team, has built up a front office, and other things like the recovery center and all that stuff.
Right.
I think that was very positive and it bodes well for the future, and I love to hear that from him.
I agree with you, and not to go too behind the scenes on our prep, but we had kind of prepped to just talk to him about all the different players. But once we got to the third
second question
about players, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't care about the players."
We realized he was done with that,
right?
If it's not
okay,
gonna
let's
work
talk
out,
about
it's not
something
gonna
other
work out. They're not going to work out.
Yeah,
I mean, hey, he's not wrong.
So I kind no. I mean, it's a show me attitude, which makes sense given like the guys he played with and coach or the coaches he had. They were all about that kind of. They didn't care if you were a high drafted rookie. If you didn't perform, you weren't going to play.
Well, and let's be honest. Also, I mean, he was playing with guys like Dexter Manley. He's got an all-time, in all NFL level character.
Right.
I don't think Rick is too worried about, if Darius Geis is too silly.
Right.
No.
I don't think that registers on his radar scope very
this
much.
Wouldn't have been a concern
I mean,
in his day. So it sounds like.
Yeah. John Riggins, kind of silly personality.
Oh yeah, I mean, you have a guy who's making fun of a Supreme Court justice,
right?
Live right in front of her, and another guy who's Dexter is doing the things he does. Darius Geis isn't going to faze a guy like Doc Walker.
A guy who plays video games does not bother you when you're talking about those two.
Yeah.
But my point, the overall arching point, I think what you, the listeners, ought to take from that is that Doc had a lot of very positive things to say about the direction and the future of the organization, which is ultimately far more important than if one player is going to work out or not.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So in a way, I'm kind of glad that he was a little bit down on talking about X's and O's, and I was kind of glad he went where we went.
Yeah, me too.
With that interview.
And the stuff he said after we kind of finished up the interview there, I thought was especially, even
Save
more
the best
insightful.
for last. That's what that was.
Yeah. You were giving the outro, Sean, and he came back with some, haymaker nuggets right there,
He did, yeah, he did.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the end of the interview a little bit. We talked about a couple other things besides the draft with him. As far as the cheerleaders things would go, guys, it sounds like he might not actually be super familiar with some of the details in that New York Times story because, he wasn't aware of some of the allegations that were thrown out there, but... I think his point is fair. This is well after the fact. We're dealing with people who are fully grown adults. He sounds like he's alarmed by some of the things that have been said, but not really wanting to jump to conclusions himself or anything.
Right.
Well, let me give a little bit from a legal perspective. I'm not going to give a lecture, but what bothers me the least out of this cheerleader thing is the fact that there was a topless photo shoot.
Yeah.
Because I have no doubt that is a condition of employment as a cheerleader, that there may be risque photo shoots, clearly. So that part, if you look at the hand wringing media, out there, they were very concerned about that. But the fact that the Redskins had these women in body paint shoots, that doesn't bother me at all because that's known in advance. It's no doubt a condition of employment. That doesn't bother me. What bothered me a lot about the cheerleader thing is that you have these leering old men sponsors and rich guy suite holders out there watching it. Because if you know anything about how photo shoots work and how Hollywood works and all that, you don't do risque shoots and open it up to a bunch of people. Those are closed sets, when you do that stuff. And the idea of having, the dude in, suite 3 out there is a bit abhorrent to me.
Yeah, so I just picture a lot of overweight, slick back hair dudes, like, guys who are like 50, 60, kind of, skeevy, You don't picture like the most upstanding people really wanting to go to that.
Well, yeah, I mean, is a down home family man going to want to fly to Costa Rica with cheerleaders?
Right.
The
wife might have some questions.
Yeah, really. Yeah, the wife might have some questions. And obviously the other thing about what basically amounts to an unpaid escort situation is awful.
Yeah.
There's no two ways
to
to
me,
put that.
those
It's
are the
awful.
parts of the story where if those, accusations are true, like I said, heads should roll if it's what they're claiming.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that. There's bits in the story about they have to buy calendars ahead of time, and they're required to sell a certain amount during the year of their own calendars.
Yeah, that's weird.
I guess it really is the question that
That's industry standard, though.
Well,
That's
what do you
not
mean
just
industry
the
standard?
Redskins.
Cheerleading
I'm telling you.
industry
I'm
standard?
telling
What do you
you.
mean? What industry?
No, NFL.
NFL?
The NFL. The Redskins are not doing anything different with their cheerleaders in terms of how they're paying them and how the team is operating and all that.
Yeah.
The idea that the Redskins weren't paying them for a photo shoot, while it's I don't agree with it. I think these women were doing something that financially benefits the Redskins. Ultimately, they ought to be paid. But I don't think any of that is any different.
Yeah,
than
no,
any
no.
other
And let me
NFL team is
clarify.
doing.
I don't think the Redskins are particularly different in any of this either. I just wanted to say to the listeners too. I tried to sort of put this in the question to Doc, but this is all in the context. There were 2 lawsuits filed last month by people who were former cheerleaders from other teams, and it was along similar lines as this. I guess the question that I realized I wanted to ask him that I didn't is. And we kind of see this with the Penn State thing, and this is they're totally not the same thing at all. But is there a culture of power, an abusive culture, I guess, in football? It's sort of an insulated world. And do you think, improprieties arise here more than in other places?
I don't think it's just football. I think it's the nature of the entertainment industry. It goes from it's sports, it's movies, it's television. These are not normal jobs, and because of that abnormality where it's not a 9 to 5, people approach it differently.
I think that's a really good point.
And a lot of it's harmless, a lot of it's just goofing around, fun and games. But I worked in theater, and in theater, people have sex with each other a lot in theater.
Color me
because
surprised.
you're not getting off till midnight, so that you're going to make relationships with the people who are working your hours. You're going to be out partying
I've
until
been
2
around.
a.m. because that's what everyone does. I'm sure it's the same in football where it's these weird hours that kind of influence how people act.
And I've been around a little bit of it too, in terms of on the music side and whatnot. And I think that's true. And the other thing about it is, people in this industry, in the entertainment industry, are not normal people.
No.
They don't think like accountants. They're creative people, and their minds are not the same as a guy who goes to his factory job and comes home and wants to hang out with his wife and kids, or her husband and her kids, from 8 to 12 and then go to bed. That's not how these people think. It really, what I tried to ask Doc, and he basically said I didn't see any of it, was what I'm wondering about the Redskins is there a culture of drinking and partying at the top that pervades throughout the organization and leads to things like let's just abuse these cheerleaders and make them go on dates with a bunch of jerk off
Doc
sponsors.
didn't seem to indicate that he's heard or seen anything of it. But
Well, it's almost we have more leeway to discuss these things than someone like Doc probably does. Because
Doc is employed by
That's right.
Dan Snyder.
he's
ultimately
employed by them. He talks with Doug on a daily basis. He told us that last time he was on
That's
the show.
right.
I can
Doc is a
understand.
pretty open guy. I'd like to think that he would, if he had seen something, he probably would have said it, at least on his show. Maybe not with us, but somewhere.
So last
it.
thing I would ask you guys about the cheerleader thing, we can put it aside after this, but last thing I would ask is, this is a revolution, everybody, I think, pretty much knew this, but they make about minimum wage, or barely a little bit more. It ends up being way less.
Yeah, it's actually
How does
less.
this hit?
Yeah.
How does this hit
They
you? then?
lose money.
What do you think of that? Should the cheerleaders be making more, or are you taking? I mean, of course, I think a lot of people would say they're not contributing to the product on the field. They're not putting butts in seats. They're not responsible for the revenue. I think that's the opinion a lot of people have.
But you know what they're doing, though, Sean, is they're contributing to the bottom line of the organization. If through number one, directly through the sale of calendars, and through clicks on the website. Because people click through just to look. How many of us have cruised through and looked at cheerleader photos?
I would
over the
never,
years?
Steve.
Probably
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of us. Yeah, you would, of course not. But so the cheerleader program directly contributes to the bottom line financially, and so in that regard, they ought to be compensated. And in case anybody wonders, I mean, you said minimum wage. What it's really going on is they make, I think it's $100 a
My
game.
goodness.
Yeah, something like that.
Ballpark. Yeah. And be clear about what they're doing. They're rehearsing almost every night.
Staying in
You
peak
know,
physical
they
condition.
they have rehearsals.
Yeah.
They pay for. They have to buy a lot of their costumes themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's not this. And that's on top of whatever body maintenance stuff they have to do. Because they have to look good.
Right.
These cheerleaders are losing money.
I can't remember if this was in the article or somebody on our blog was mentioning this, that they have to stay within like 5 pounds of whatever they sign up for.
Yeah.
I don't know what the number is,
Yeah.
but there's
That doesn't surprise me at
there's
all.
a number.
Yeah.
And so, and the other thing is, these football teams, the Redskins are about if the Redskins sold today, they're what, a $2 billion team,
Right.
probably. I mean, they're one of the top
I think you
5
said 4. I
most
think Doc
valuable
just told
teams
us
in the
4,
world.
I think.
Yeah, right. And so, would it be possible for the franchise, and this goes the same for all NFL teams, to toss these ladies a bone and pay them just a little bit more?
Mm-hmm.
Pay them more. Pay for the uniforms. And if you're going to fly for me to Costa Rica so I can sell calendars, aren't they? That should be paid time.
Right.
At a minimum, an hourly wage, because that's how most modeling works. Number one is hourly. So I don't know why these ladies aren't entitled to some form of payment. And I don't know why. I do know why. The answer is there's so much demand they don't have to pay.
Right.
That's why they do it. But from a basic sense of decency, would it be okay to pay them $1,000 a game instead of $100? The team would survive.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
that's my thought.
And I agree with you. I think my thought on all this, we'll see what they decide they've found is the problem. Like I said, I'm very skeptical that the team's going to do an internal investigation. But I'm just...
They may do fake one.
Yeah.
Tell everybody they did it.
Yeah. Like something... all right, do a real investigation, figure out what the problem is, and then I think in the end you really have to do some kind of sit down as an organization with the cheerleaders and with, whoever else needs to be in that sit down and say, obviously our old guidelines didn't work. Let's come up with some new policies that, don't exploit these women like it sounds like they were being exploited. And like you said, pay them better. I don't think they should be getting $50,000 a year. It's not a full-time gig.
It's a part-time job.
Yeah, but
and this is what I was kind of trying to ask Doc. Is there a culture, amongst the leadership in the building that tends to disregard women, and it's a culture that would kind of minimize the contributions of people like cheerleaders. Because you just hear these rumors about all the drinking and partying, and the what's the drink that Bruce likes? Is it tequila? I forget. Scotch.
I think.
I mean,
the rumor was always that he liked Coors. That was always the rumor.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Point is, these are senior executives, and they ought to know better.
Right.
And this stuff happened on their watch. And like Doc said, if this is my daughter, I would want to kill somebody.
Oh yeah.
You'd want to go murder somebody for putting, and these women they're all daughters and they're wives and girlfriends, and some of them are mothers, and it's just not appropriate and it's not right, and it really needs to stop.
Right.
Amen to that.
Yeah, it's not that hard to treat women with just decency
It
and respect.
seems to be really, really, really hard for some people, Alex. I mean, I know that to us it seems like a no-brainer, but some people really struggle. Some people really struggle with that.
Right.
Let's try to stay away from the Harvey Weinstein stuff, for God's sakes.
mean,
Can we do that at
for
least?
God's
Is
sakes,
that
Amanda.
possible?
All right. Anything else? Do we want to comment on the Bruce Allen rumors, Raiders stuff?
I think it's a bunch of
too.
crap. It's
Well,
garbage.
he's
It's
come
just
out and
talk
said publicly on, I think it was NFL Network, that he did an
It
interview.
was NFL Radio.
NFL Radio, where he said that he has no plans to do it. So if there was any talk about it, he just kind of squashed it with that.
Well, of course, Nick Saban, about a day before he moved to Alabama, said he wasn't leaving the Dolphins.
That's true.
So.
And that's a good point. I was trying to give Bruce the benefit of the doubt that he wouldn't be a total liar about this.
Yeah, jury's still out on that one.
But,
Well, we'll certainly see. Plenty more to come in
Yeah.
this offseason. Obviously, the Hog Side is going to keep you up to date. One thing you don't know is that this was a true editing this is going to be a true editing nightmare for Alex. We had horrible connection problems at the beginning of this, and if it sounds good,
But it sounds good to you, the listener.
then he did
Yeah.
a great job. So, anyways,
If it's a big mess,
it's
don't blame
all
Sean and I
Alex's
blame
fault,
Alex.
Right.
Because right now we're not quite sure how this is going to turn out.
That'll be fine.
They can't all be winners. On that note, thanks to
No.
our sponsor, ticketclub.com, and we'll see you all next time. So long.